Beyond Bitcoin Hangouts are meant to give everyone a voice, a chance to speak with others who are passionate advocates for expanding the blockchain's use cases out into the world and beyond. Do you have a crypto community you would like to represent and hold open Hangouts for? If so, you might find yourself on the path to owning a stake in Beyond Bitcoin. We are looking for people who care about people who want to bring others together, because crypto communities are people. Beyond Bitcoin is a movement of thinkers and doers in the crypto space. And if you feel you are one of them, reach out to beyondbitcoin@gmail.com for more information on how to debut your community's efforts to reach to the stars and beyond. Welcome everyone to another Beyond Bitcoin Hangout. Does that sound good? You guys hear that okay? Did I spike peak?
Sounded good to me.
No crackling in your ear?
Not a bit.
Okay, I've been noticing in the beginning when I say welcome everyone, it's a little bit louder. So
if you got your compression working, it's working well.
I won't even get into it, but it's a constant battle when you have people that think that turning knobs is fun. Okay, so everybody go ahead and start recording if you'd like. Welcome everyone to another Beyond Bitcoin BitShares Hangout. Today is Friday, June 23rd, 2017, and this is episode 25. Now this is what we call the BitShares Open Source Agenda Hangout. And I post this every week, starting as of last week, to enable people to bring up different topics, questions, concerns, or hopefully the biggest thing that we would like to start moving into with this is a little bit less away from that stuff, though it'll be there for anybody who wants to use it, but for people who have worker proposals and proposals for changing any aspect within the BitShares ecosystem. We have a lot of funding for development to be done. We have come together and talked for quite some time about getting things done in the ecosystem. And now that we have new tools that have been brought online, namely WhaleShares, I'm able to start leveraging what I have and the community of over 600 people that we've built in 2 weeks to really start paying out to those individuals who otherwise might have had a concern with paying to get a worker proposal in the ecosystem. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be urging everybody to start looking at. But we'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit. I want to start out with the agenda today, and there have been people who've been paid out money on the Steemit platform under the BitShares Hangout Open Source Agenda thread for participating in the discussion. And the one that is going to be joining up today to talk about his worker proposal is going to be Talkinator, and he's going to be talking about a worker proposal for getting BitShares to work with EOS. So that's going to be one of the top agenda items. But before we get into that today, and why we're changing from the old format. So with that said, does anybody have anything that they would like to add before we get started today?
You cut out there briefly, Fuzzy. Why don't you repeat that last bit?
Which part? Where did I cut out?
Hard to explain it. Somebody else help me here.
You basically said that why we're changing, and then there was a gap.
We are changing formats, and I would like to, before we get into Talkinator's proposal today, explain to people a little bit of why. There are many factors that are going into this evolution, but I definitely want to bring this to the community and let everybody know about it before we get started on Talkinators. I've been talking to Talkinator about some other things behind the scenes, but I'll let him choose whether he wants to talk about that stuff in addition today. And of course, I will let everybody know, please consider going to the BitShares Hangout thread and posting your worker proposals, your change proposals, any BSIPs, which are BitShares improvement proposals, anything that you would like to do, maybe even witnesses, if you're wanting a witness. These are the types of things that you can come to these Hangouts to accomplish and to try to get people to look at. And I would urge everybody to reach out to your proxy, ask them to join these hangouts, or consider listening to the hangouts, because this is a place that through the storms, through the hard times and the best times, we've been here. And I believe that we're going to kind of have to be here over time. Experience is kind of showing me that we have to start doing and making changes instead of being so much a blank slate. So with that said, I'd like to start today just by going over the format change, because the format used to be where you could talk about any topic specifically, and that was pretty much the main thing that it was here for. But the topics, they grow also into things that we might not be in the best position to always give information on, and a lot of it has been speculation with things. And excuse me.
With regard to your format, Fuzzy, I think what I'm sensing here is that it's moving more towards the direction of worker proposals and getting some shit done. And so in that regard, I think it's a great thing. It does have the potential. It'll be a difficult balancing act for you to be able to, because it could be very technical when you talk about worker proposals and getting things done in the blockchain and the technical things that are required there. It can bog people down where they're not so interested in tuning in because of that. But I think it's going to be a great challenge for you to do it, and I'm all behind it.
Well, I will urge everybody. This is part of our governance structure, right? We have proxies, and yes, they do things, and a lot of them are very busy. But it's important that we show that our community is alive. I go on Steemit, for instance, and Ethereum's community is ahead of BitShares on there. There's no reason for that. We're the reason why Steem exists. We should be at the top. We should be up there. We have $400 million+ to give out to workers. We've talked for months, literally months, about just getting a coin market cap or something up, something done. And we talk ourselves to death. So yes, it's going to be hard to get and reward doers, and that is always the problem. However, I want to make it very clear to everyone here that the community that we're forming already around WhaleShares is growing by leaps and bounds by the day. I have lots of money I can pass out to people who can help, and I don't have to worry about politics. I don't have to worry about any of that. I just worry about what I like to do, which is build communities, to build things. And it will be hard. I look forward to it. So, yes. And I will say, for those of you who are here from the WhaleShares community this morning, I know it's early, and thank you for joining up. But with that said, what we're going to start doing is really focusing on this. And I'm going to be paying out WhaleShares to people. A 50% upvote from the account with WhaleShares right now gives out about $150 on Steem, makes your post trend, gets you in the eyes of many other people. And if you add the Beyond Bitcoin tag, the BitShares tag, there are a lot of people who respect us because we've done what others have said they're going to do. And because of that, you gain a lot of eyeballs. So I urge you all to consider utilizing this platform and what we consistently are building to really kind of enable yourself to do things that maybe you weren't able to do with the funding mechanisms that are currently in place in the BitShares ecosystem. And that will always be there. But I urge you to consider joining up and getting your proxies to pay attention to this, and getting your proxies to join up if they can, to help those individuals who are going to be joining up. Because I'm going to start a worker proposal myself, and I'm going to work to get a coin market cap ad to say that we are hiring. Okay? I'm not going to go through big meetings. I'm not going to go through people saying I can or can't. I'm just going to do the worker proposal, and I'm going to come here every week and tell people about it. And I urge you, if you care about BitShares, to think about something you care about and ask the community that you've been supporting for all this time to help you build what you need to build and what they need to build. They have a lot of things in there. Of course, there are certain aspects that are going to be more technical than others. You can get paid very well for doing this. So I urge you guys to all consider doing it. Consider people who aren't getting paid, who deserve it especially, and reaching out to them and telling them, hey, you're already doing this. Maybe we can get you a worker proposal. And those people who do this, I'm going to be rewarding you handsomely over time. So I'm just going to I'm going to leave it at that. I haven't opened up all of the avenues and all the different things I've got. I've only got one token. We're going to be opening a lot more. Check out WhaleShares.net, guys. That's where the magic's going to start happening. And I'll also say, this is a good time for anybody to bring up whatever they would like to bring up about this subject.
I think one thing to follow up on what you're bringing up regarding worker proposals is due to the fortunate work, due to the work which I'm grateful about that SVK recently introduced into the wallet is the GUI to submit worker proposals. So that will hopefully also make it easier for a wider variety of people to submit.
Great point. And if it isn't, WhaleShares are worth about $1.50 each right now, and I can hand them out like candy if I need to somebody who does build an interface that makes it easy to put these worker proposals in. Literally thousands of dollars can be in your pockets, and fame that makes it so everybody else upvotes you for thousands of dollars. But if you don't want to use it, don't. I've tried to be humble about this stuff, but I'm going to start selling what we've got. Use it, people. Use it. That's why it is here. Ask Crypto Hippie. He's here from Purity. How have WhaleShares been helping your prod get paid, man? But honestly, Talkinator, you're 100% right. We need to support this stuff. We need to support SVK. I know that he's got a work proposal that he at least had, unless it's changed recently. Does he still have a worker proposal?
The last time I checked, no, I think it had expired. It expired naturally. And so I think he was not necessarily available, but I think he might become available shortly. So that's something to consider.
Do you think that we could get a little team of people to talk him into coming to get a worker proposal again? And I will pay you guys a bounty?
I think, sure. I think talking with him about it will be easy. The question, I think, the harder part will be his availability.
We'll need to see what he's getting paid. And this is the type of things that are going to start happening, right? The people who busted their butts and have done a lot of work. Like SVK is one of them. He's really highly respected, trusted in the space, and now he's going to be starting to be offered a lot of money.
Sure.
And you get what you pay for, guys. So always keep in mind, we have to make sure that we're paying people who have built up trust, but paying them well, because that trust is so damn important. And once you lose it, or once you lose those people, it's hard to find replacements for that.
Yeah, I agree. And is actually tied for something that I was really considering as submitting to discuss today, but I think I'll delay that discussion perhaps for next week about another worker.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, does anybody have any questions or comments regarding topics that we're currently on, or should we move on to Talkinator? Because you do have a worker proposal that you wanted to talk about, and I mean, you know where I stand on it, Taco. So
it's a perfect segue.
I should probably shut up. Go ahead.
I said it's a perfect segue.
Sounds good. Okay, so I was actually reviewing various proposals, many of which have already been put out there, and several that I thought of myself. And just to keep it pertinent for what we can discuss in today's 1 hour or remaining 45 minutes, is I highlighted one which I thought was highest priority based on largely, I think, what is going on with this related project. So the related project is EOS, and the question that I'm bringing up here is a proposal to prepare a report on possible integration with EOS. And I highlighted it briefly in a comment to today's Hangout, and I can discuss it roughly here. And just to put up front, almost all of these ideas are not my own, so they shouldn't be credited to me. To my knowledge, they are largely belonging to a discussion between Xerox and El Mato.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the reason I think for the integration is in terms of timeline is because there's a lot of activity going on in EOS, and there's also fundraising going on at this time. And considering because of those issues, I thought this would be highest priority. So roughly speaking, there are approximately 4 general ideas for how to integrate with EOS. And perhaps open for discussion is possibly why would we want to do that. But so I'm just going to put it out there quickly. Would anybody like to discuss the why?
I think it's always something pertinent because, at least from my standpoint, you never know when a new person is coming in to listen. So briefly visiting that when we have the time, which we do today, probably isn't a bad idea if that's okay with you.
Sure. So I'll highlight what I think is, I'll highlight certain points, and then if I'm missing anything or anything important, please, everybody chime in. One of the reasons for consideration with EOS is because it is a related technology, and perhaps at this point it's related. It's going to be a smart contracts blockchain platform, and very possibly with even higher throughput capacity in general. It depends on the operations, but it's going to have a high throughput capacity. And to do a direct comparison with BitShares is a little fuzzy because it assumes certain things about what's up for operating on the system. But roughly it's going to be a high throughput capacity with smart contracts. So one of the issues, and that's a little bit of the why, and also it's getting a lot of visibility. That's one thing. And a second why. And a second why is because there can be many other systems operating on the EOS platform, the possibility of integrating a financial decentralized exchange with these other platforms is very interesting. So you could have another DApp, a distributed application that is in charge of almost anything you can imagine. So let's imagine renting a car, for example. You could have that system integrated with perhaps your financial system on the BitShares DApp. And because of that integration, the whole EOS platform becomes very interesting in terms of possibilities about what can be done across DApps. So I think that is some of the why. Perhaps somebody else would like to highlight something else?
I'll just say that one thing that I love to highlight is that if BitShares also finds a way of having ownership stake early on, and I know we've covered this in the past, but if BitShares ends up having ownership stake in EOS, not only does it kind of become the default DEX for the dApps on EOS, it's also going to gain essentially free transaction fees, or the potential to have extremely.
Could you repeat that? I think you said you fell out. I heard extremely low something.
Transaction fees.
Okay.
That would actually be on par, or could get us on par with the various enterprise level exchanges centralized exchanges that exist today, potentially with fees.
Right. So, assuming that there are no other whys that people might want to discuss. So, and also I'll put in one caveat that I think a couple of people might bring in here in terms of the why. EOS is still young. It has not been fully fleshed out. So an argument can be made that perhaps it is a bit too early to be discussing integration with EOS. And I think that's a fair criticism. But really what I'm just highlighting today is not actually to do integration, but rather to just perhaps have some in the community prepare a report about possible technical methods for integrating with EOS, at least based on what is currently known, and 2, what are some of the benefits and cons, both in terms of financing any particular technical endeavor, and also who might finance it too. So I think this is really just kind of to prepare a relatively short report to discuss possibilities for possible future action.
One thing that I think would be prudent, and you probably already thought about this, Talkinator, I suspect, and that is just simply reaching out to ByteMaster or anybody else that you have contact with in the EOS community to begin to establish a dialogue along these lines, because the relationship between their development staff and ours, anybody that's interested like yourself that could be a developer in that endeavor, is pretty important to foster pretty early.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a couple of feelers we can put out, and I think definitely follow up on what you're saying. Yeah.
So is this a worker proposal for creating the BSIP, like doing the research prior to, implementation? Yes.
I think yes. I think that's roughly correct.
Cool. It sounds good. I'd also post it to Steam. I wrote up my BSIP 19 and I got paid $200. So it's that helps fund the research itself as well, Yes,
excellent. Yes, I remember. I actually had it in my notes. Let me see if I can just pull that up so others can.
I see G Chicken commented that Stan has commented in the Telegram that Xerox and Dan have been discussing integration. So that's good, because Xerox is obviously a very strong member of our community here.
Yeah, I think I know that I've talked to Xerox about it. I've talked to Dan about it. Dan actually was one of the people who mentioned BitShares 3.0 right when EOS came out, which was around the time whenever I was like, right? Big question mark. Dan, what about that? Let's dig into that a little bit. And we have an EOS token that's on BitShares. I don't know where it came from. But I think that all of this stuff, it just makes sense. And I think regardless, people are seeing it. The question is, if the community will go with it.
Dan has a habit of building the horse first and then the cart next.
Yeah, but then at the same time, we have to admit the cart kind of goes, I need to build myself, and everybody comes together to build the cart because they have to. It's kind of a free market thing that happens every time, and people complain, but it gets done.
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to in Teleguide, but if it basically boils down to building the tech and then later coming along and marketing it to a potential audience, I don't think that'll happen with EOS, because he's a part of a team, and there's a huge aspect of that team which is very marketing focused.
No, it's quite simple. He's going to focus on building EOS first, which he obviously should do, and then the BitShares integration would be the cart, which comes next.
Okay, so real quick, this is fun, and this is a nice kind of side track, but I do want to kind of bring us back to the point of what Talkinator was bringing up as far as the EOS integration, the BitShares improvement proposal, and I wanted to kind of also bring up what Custom Miner said, which is a great point here. And I want to use this as a teaching moment as far as how we can use the tools that I'm at least building here to help. BitShares, everything that helps BitShares is eventually going to help Steam. So I have no qualms helping and using what I've got in Steam. And what Custom Miner said is a perfect example. $200 for making a post, right? And that's going to start happening more and more, Custom Miner. You're going to see the more and more, because you keep doing it. And people are going to start questioning, how did he make so much money? It's because you keep at it and you keep doing it. So for those of you who are wondering, how do I make a lot of money in this space? It's really, really simple. Persistent value, and don't stop. You can do it in your own way, and we all have our own ways. We all have our own perspectives of whether, somebody's providing it or not. But try your best and you will have people who support you. And we can pay easily just between both of my accounts. And that's not even including all of you if you guys pitch in. We can easily pay somebody $300 or $400. That's actually possible just for posting a BSIP that has been well thought out. And if you bring that stuff to me, and you consistently are showing it, you're most likely going to end up getting funded to have teams who write these things and help you. That's the model I'm trying to build. So the people who stand up and lead are going to be rewarded for leading. You're not going to have to pay out of pocket. You're going to earn reputation and you're going to earn money. And if BitShares doesn't help pay for all that stuff, then I can at the very least, pay with Steam. And if we're building value for both, nobody's going to complain. So with that said, the EOS worker proposal BSIP, how do you see that rolling out, Talkinator? I mean, do you think that this is something that should have like different stages, or is it something that's going to be relatively simple? How much work if you were to like kind of guesstimate, how much work do you think we would need on a BSIP like this?
As a quick estimate, as a quick estimate, I think we would want, in terms of man hours, I think we're talking in the ballpark of 5 to 20 hours per person, where I think we want to have at least 3 heads. So I guess I'm saying about 15 to 60 hours of man hours.
So let's say 60. Let's always say the top price.
Okay.
Just so we know that we always have the money figured out for it.
Right.
If we end up having a lot of extra in the end, that's even better, right? At least this way we're not pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised.
Sure. And I think this would be like for a first version, based on what is known today.
Okay. Well, 60 hours, let's say times what, $60 an hour? How much an hour do you think would be fair for somebody who's really skilled in this?
That's always fuzzy. But let's go with your number for the moment.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, $3,600 for a worker proposal, and we can do this in multiple ways. We can cut up these hangouts, post that stuff too, or have them post them. I think we can get $3,600 for a very well done worker proposal, but it'll probably be over time. People would have to, post stuff and updates on things and discuss it. But yeah, I think we can pretty easily get there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Would you be able to kind of oversee that, and then we can get you paid as well?
Sure, I can at least corral it. Yeah.
I mean, we can use the Steam-backed dollars earned from this hangout too. Like, I have no qualms. We're building here.
Yeah. Sure. And
definitely.
And also briefly, I can also briefly highlight what are kind of, as I see, the 3 general approaches that are being considered right now. And there might be 4, but I think 3 general ones. Would now be a good time?
Well, this would be the perfect time. You are the expert speaker here, so.
Okay. So the first idea that we talked about here, and I'll paste the 3 ideas and then talk about them. So the first idea is, which is listed in text as modify the BitShares block header and do sidechain with EOS. The rough idea is that you maintain both blockchains separate on their own. You have BitShares as BitShares on one side, and then EOS as a separate blockchain. And then BitShares specifically would be modified in a small way that would allow it to be able to handle certain operations in synchronization with EOS. That's the broad general idea. It would not be a complete integration, and there's some details, but it would have a lot of functionality by just enabling that. That's idea number 1. The second idea is to do a complete port of BitShares and just completely move it over and have it as a dApp within EOS. So then there would just be one blockchain, and one of the dApps on EOS would be BitShares. The third idea would be, and even here there are kind of 2 ideas, but the rough idea is to somehow significantly enhance BitShares based on what was learned from EOS. And these 2 ideas range from anywhere of looking at EOS and doing significant upgrades to BitShares, all the way to maybe just having a fork of EOS and just having BitShares operating on a separate EOS chain. There are pros and cons to each of these, but those are roughly the 3 broad ideas. And then there was a 4th idea that was introduced, which is possibly making use of 2 of the other ideas. But at a quick high level, those are the broad ideas that are possibly being considered.
And it seems like, and tell me if I'm wrong here, it seems like this is going from easiest to most difficult.
I think certainly number one, where we just modify BitShares block header, is the easiest. Number two, I think is the hardest, which is a full port of BitShares over to EOS. Although, if we compare it to number three, which is an upgrade, that in itself also is not necessarily easy, depending on what kind of upgrade we're talking about.
Okay, fair enough. So there's different kinds of upgrades, the ways of upgrading this architecture too, like sub categories underneath that almost.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you see, like these are the types of things that would be very helpful to get documentation on and put this stuff on a blockchain. Thank you, Talkinator. This is the type of technical expertise and clarity that we need to bring to the discussion for anybody who doesn't quite understand it. Most people aren't devs, so I greatly appreciate the laying of them out. What do you think? Are you partial to any of them personally after hearing all the discussion?
Currently, based on my limited knowledge, I think I would lean towards one, because possibly with a small amount of work we can get a decent amount of benefit, and also because EOS is still being fleshed out, and also there's one other consideration about maintaining possibly a separate blockchain. Is as a separate blockchain, the BitShares, at least at this stage of development of EOS, based on my understanding, is that BitShares blockchain is still, at the moment, much faster for the type of operations that it performs. So based on that and the relatively little amount of work in comparison to the other options, I think we get a good bang for the buck for option one, based on what I know at the moment.
I think that's one of the fastest things to implement at this point, too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
And the other steps, this doesn't really hinder any of the other steps if either of those want to be taken later.
Yeah, that's right. And also, in a way, it kind of enables the other steps as well, because it increases our familiarity with EOS. Yeah,
that sounds like a good way of going. I mean, the easiest way, especially at a time when we don't have all the answers to a lot of questions. It gives us the connection, but at the same time keeps us safely disconnected, if that makes any sense.
What is your thoughts about the Ren scripting? My impression from reading Bytemaster's blog recently is that on Steam is that he's moving away from Ren in favor of WebAssembly.
I don't have any educated insight on that. I'm ignorant of both.
I'm pretty ignorant on both either. I've learned only what I've gotten from reading Bytemaster's posts, but he seemed to be pretty much moving in the direction of WebAssembly over Ren, even though he has very, very much bullish on Ren originally. I think he's moving away from that perspective now.
Okay, that's interesting.
And what's the difference between the two?
Well, like we primarily. Sorry, in terms of Ren, the issue that he ran into was in regards to the real-time compiling that Ren requires in its processing, and that was causing a limitation in the transaction capabilities he was hoping for. So instead, the great thing about WebAssembly is that you can use lots of other languages within it. It is more adept to C++ type of language, which of course we all know is what he's most proficient. And so overall, he was able to also get the throughput he was looking for. So Ren looks like it's out of the picture. Yeah, it just works.
Well, I'm glad to hear that he's adapted to the situation and why. Thanks for the insight. And now, of course, this is Jonathan Bahai from Peer Plays, who's just talked up there. He's one of the committee members and has a witness. You still have a witness going, right?
I did, but it is not active at the moment. So if you want to vote for Data Security Node, it would be most welcome.
Yeah. So how does this play into or make any different things that we need to consider as far as BitShares? I would imagine that this would make it easier, since it would probably be more friendly to C++, which is what BitShares is written in, right? Or am I completely overreaching on that?
Well, Jonathan, you nailed the technical thing. I didn't remember those details, but you're absolutely right. You recollected my memory that it was the issue of compilation of the REN that was the bottleneck that he discovered. So WebAssembly also, as you also mentioned, that it's really good for being language agnostic, and that's very good for extensibility it's great because there's so many developers that can make use of it that way.
So this actually brings up something that I've tried to express a number of times. I think we're in the cusp of actually an ICO for EOS, and it's got a year-long one at that. And so during that time, they're going to be in a testnet phase. So we're talking about a very long testnet, and we're talking about a very long runway until it's actually usable, which means in the course of that time, I mean, we've just seen how Ren got scrapped and was turned to WebAssembly in the course of less than a month. Trying to make any decisions at this stage are really, really useless. So because it could be something completely different by the end of the year. So we're, the fact is that we're probably looking at a year until we see something that actually launches that's actually usable. And then after that, we would have to assess where BitShares is at that time, because I really hate the idea that we're going to be sitting on our hands for the next year waiting for EOS. I think that there's a lot of improvements that can be made with BitShares in itself. We've got a really good price now with a huge amount that could be done with orders. And so I think we need to look at what elements of BitShares that we can improve now, and then, look at the EOS question, I think, maybe about, not an entire year, but maybe sometime like 9 months until it starts to get more mature, and then we can start looking at options. But as far as the three options are concerned, I'm all for option one at this stage, at the way things look, because just a minor modification would do the trick.
And I definitely agree with the idea about focusing on what is on not sitting on our hands. And the only reason I think I brought this up for today is because if option 2 were very desirable in terms of a full port over, then considering the current fundraising, then it might be, that would be the only reason to perhaps act very quickly and to possibly participate in the fundraising. So I think that was the reason that I brought it up for today.
Well, I'll tell you right now, this kind of changes my way of looking at things because, of course, you make a very good point about it taking a year. When we go back to look at the evolution of BitShares, there are so many changes that seemed like, that they were so traumatizing at the time because they were considered big changes. And hold on a second here. They were big changes, and, change in general for people is not necessarily what they like to see ever, even if it's a change that makes sense, right? And those types of things did pop up quite frequently, and we've obviously found that it's an evolution, and sometimes you almost have to just almost completely rebuild certain parts of these ecosystems. So it'll be very interesting to see what it evolves into in a year, and I wonder if that's maybe why they gave themselves that long of a runway. But with respect to BitShares, it does make total sense to me going with the side chain. Just because it's easier, it's something that can be done, and we can test things with it if there's a test net. And probably going to be, I'm assuming it would be a little bit cheaper if we already have that, if we already have an idea as to how we're going to do it. Do you know, Taco, if there's a way that people have in mind of doing the side chain?
I have heard that I've heard or rumored that Xerox has an idea, and that's all I know.
Okay. Because it says here modify BitShares block header, but that, of course, is going to be, to my knowledge, that would be the only way of side chaining. Right?
Yeah, I think, yes, that's what I've heard about it. Yeah. And I've also just pasted in what were a brief summary of some pros and cons of that idea. And these are ideas, again, not prepared by me, but prepared by, I think, either Xerox or Elmato. And roughly the ideas, some of the pros are, at the moment, as we currently see it, easy, less intrusive, and here it's listing low performance. But I think perhaps I guess I get the idea. I think why this type of integration, my suspicion of what is meant here is that the number of transactions that could be synchronized with the EOS chain might have a decent amount of latency. So that would be my guess of what's meant by this. And also the other perhaps con or limitation, let's say, is that with this type of integration, there would only allow two-way transfers of user-issued assets or BTS, but not bit assets. Let's say like BitUSD, for example.
It seems like it's not necessarily a bad thing starting out, but
yeah, I mean, I think it does provide a lot to go to start with, and I think Stan brought up a point in the comments, and the gist of it was, and I've lost track of it, but the gist of it was it's good to be able to plant a flag and send a message out there that in this case BitShares is preparing to integrate.
How would you guys, Talkinator, do you have any people that you know would like to do this, or are you preparing to do it as far as the proposal and writing it up?
I have not actually talked about writing this up with anyone else, but I know other people have been talking about it. So I'm happy to at least begin corralling and trying to identify people who would be willing to assist with this.
That'd be awesome if you could form like a little crew just to keep inform the public about it and write about it. Because one of the things that I don't think that a lot of people really understand, well, maybe they understand it, but sometimes we kind of need to be reminded, is that bringing content to people is an extremely valuable way of teaching them. And what we have in the tool that Steam offers and all the other chains that could be made from it, is that we have a way of actually paying people to create content and teach. Some people learn differently. And that's why having a spectrum of different kinds of content surrounding a subject allows the person who's searching for the answer to find what meshes best with them, what enables them to overcome the barriers of learning and motivate them to get past that. And when you find a person who you just so happen to every bit of content that they create connects with you, and you connect with that person, now you have a guru, like a mentor type of situation. And in psychology, they call this stuff scaffolding. Right? It's the concept of, whenever you see baby monkeys, they even do this. They will learn from their parents by watching their parents. And if it works all over the place, right? But this is the type of synergy that we can create and actually also pay for it. So I also want to urge everybody here, if you have Steam Power, please consider upvoting these Hangouts. Please consider re-steaming them. And if you know somebody who's doing good work and not getting paid for it, let them know that we can pay them for talking about what they're doing in this in BitShares ecosystem. This is something that I would really like to work on with you, Talkinator. So I think we can talk behind the scenes a little bit more about it.
Sure.
If you're okay with it. And
absolutely.
I think that I would really love, you don't have to, man, but I would really love to see you writing these thoughts out so newbies can read them. They're going to learn from you. They're going to learn from you. And none of this is bad. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it definitely helps flesh out the ideas. And learning oneself also as they write out the ideas. So yeah.
Cool, buddy. Okay, that sounds good. Does anybody have any input on this? Because you know that I have input. There are other people here who are nerds who are thinking a lot about various stuff that's going on in the ecosystem. I know that all of you guys who are BitShares, early BitShares people are looking at EOS. So what are your thoughts on it? Do you have any thoughts on what we're talking about here?
I love the fact that you've whet our appetites about the different things that we should be looking at or that are being talked about and stuff, so we know what we're going to be looking for or waiting to hear more about. I just have a quick question about time. Is there any other segments that we're having during this thing? Because I see that we're coming up close to the next hangout. So
no, this today a hangout that it's a little bit different because I was gonna do the open source agenda completely just like that, but then I realized that we've had the blank slate kind of thing for a while, and we can still keep that, but we need to start framing it. Now that I have tools to get stuff done, I can start shaping and molding the steel into a sword. So I want to pay people to do that, and I can do it now. And I don't have power down my Steam power. And those of you who see what I do with the money, you should consider supporting me in any way, shape, or form you can, because these tools are really being built for everybody here. And we have just the basics started right now. But we also, it's something that I have to find a way to get our community to tackle, is we have all this funding for BitShares. And it's a damn shame that people aren't able to use it to, or that we're not really paying people like SVK should not have to worry about a worker proposal having to be voted in again and going and rallying the troops. We should be there saying, hey, as a community, we're going to support you. And if we can get paid for it and I can pay you guys for doing that stuff, it's stupid for me not to, right? So leverage what I've got. Help me to get the funding to continue building and help Talkinator and all the people who step up here, because it's not easy to do all this stuff, but the people who do it, generally they either see a huge profit or they care. And whenever you find people who would do it for free, and I think Talkinator is one of them, we want to start using what we've got to support them and get this stuff done.
What is the incentive? I know what the incentive is supposed to be, but what is the incentive for people to actively pay attention to what they're voting on, checking on voting and stuff like that? It almost seems like it's a voluntary effort to use your BitShares stake to vote for worker proposals or to keep on top of them, while a lot of people just like owning BitShares and just like letting it ride idle all the time. I don't know if there's something that we can do to encourage it, whether it be the recognition of who's voting and who's not, or something like that along those lines, so that if somebody's not participating, it becomes very visible, or we recognize those that are participating in voting more. There's got to be some way of showing inclusion and abandonment of participating in the BitShares development worker proposal system.
I like some ideas that we have, one of which, of course, SVK has made it a little bit easier to make worker proposals and stuff. Like you're saying, the problem is we're supposed to want to vote actively on projects to make the value of the token go up. But voter apathy still exists on a ridiculous level, right? Is that what you're pretty much saying? And how do we motivate that and change that motivation?
Yeah, if I had to just pick statistics out of my butt, I would probably say 7%. 7% of the BitShares network is actively voting for and tracking worker proposals, while 93% just sits idle with the token.
Yeah, I have an idea about that we can maybe talk about sometime, but I'll just really quickly summarize it as I always thought that if you let somebody proxy vote for you, they should earn a small amount of tokens for doing it, and maybe you pay that fee. And that gives you an incentive to make sure that they're not screwing around, but they also want to get that fee from you. So they're going to be very transparent, and they're going to be competitions of people who want to be more transparent than the other person, so they can be a proxy because they get a little bit of extra benefit for voting and being a proxy for people, right? And then you just basically have proxy competitions, and that's great because it's a free market. where you don't have like, oh, this person did X, Y, and Z, and now they have to go in front of Congress, and Congress is going to slap their wrist, and there's going to be a Coke can that's going to be advertising at the same time, and in front of the representative, and they never get in trouble when that. No, you get voted out because the community thinks you're a bag of crap for some reason, right?
I think a good example of that is what we're seeing with Steam witnesses. There's a lot of witnesses in Steam, but they always, like somebody like Tim Cliff or somebody will post like this big long update of everything he's done over the last 2 weeks. And I think we should see more of that in BitShares, on the BitShares forum or something, or on a BitShares version of a Steam post.
Hello?
Mr. Pascal?
Yeah, your mic is on all the time. We can hear you now, Sir Pat and Google, but you need to have push to talk enabled because your mic is hot all the time.
Yep. But it's okay. You can take the time. What I urge everybody who's in here everybody who's in here who wants to talk, I urge you setting it up, testing it with a friend, and making sure that you've got it all set up before the Hangouts. If you have problems, you can reach me on the WhaleShares Discord, which is where you're going to see me quite often from now on. Or that's at least where I'm going to be checking my messages like on a multiple time per day basis. But whenever you're in here, just to make it a little bit higher quality, none of us are using hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, but just to make it easier on yourself, enabling push to talk, having something that aren't external speakers plugged in, something closer to like headset or headphones, along with a mic. Those are the types of things that will help you guys in here. So just real quick plug of that kind of public service announcement here. And to get back into what we were talking about, we're at about 57 minutes in. So if there's anything that anybody would like to wrap up with outside of that, I'm more than willing to, let you do so. But I will say, IntelliGuy, I think it's something we should definitely talk about. And I actually have thought, what if proxies were also committee? I don't know. These are things that I would like to discuss at some point in time, and maybe this is something we can discuss at the next Hangout. But I will also tell everybody here, if you have a proxy, urge them to come on here. Let's focus on bringing these people together. Or you can add Brownie Distro, which is my account, as a proxy. And I will try to take into consideration everything that the community brings and everything that the community thinks here. Maybe we can have a voting tool and stuff, and we can publish the votes. But we can come up with some things that can help this process along. And now that I have the resources, not just funding, but people, we have this amazing group in the WhaleShares Discord that are always like trying to help. And it's only growing. So they're the real gold. Wait until they come online and really start helping and seeing value in helping for themselves. But anybody else have any information or thoughts or anything they'd like to close on?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so it's my first time joining Mumble. I'm a steamer from Turkey. And the Turkish community is just starting to grow, and I'm really believing in this community because there are so many things you can develop on top of this community, since it's a lot of communication going on between people, interesting content is being shared. So I initially started I convinced a friend of mine to open a shop on Steemit to sell underwear in exchange of Steam dollars and SBD. In the future, I'm planning of maybe doing something like couch surfing, because people are, people know each other through this system and they can trust each other more. Next step could be Workaway, where you can go to...
Read more. I just want to let you know, if you're thinking this is the Beyond Bitcoin Hangout, this isn't the Beyond Bitcoin Hangout yet. That will be after. And I do want you to come and talk about this. But I will say this, anywhere that I find things that are going on in Steam, I'd love to bring them to the BitShares community too. Because if you haven't noticed, you have noticed obviously, but a lot of people, they think that WhaleShares and what we're doing using the BitShares chain is like evil and it's hurting Steam. But I can tell just by the community that we've built already and all the quality content that they're creating that we're one of the brightest shining stars in Steam, and we use BitShares. So I leverage BitShares every way I can because it's a hell of a tool that's underestimated. And if you think that your friend would like to talk about potentially working with the BitShares community in ways, I think that having BitShares lingerie or BitShares underwear might work out. So maybe you can sign up for a worker proposal or something to get a couple of them made to show people and then see if it would be a good business decision for you guys to start a product line about it or something. I don't know, but maybe we can talk about some of that stuff in the future if you're with it.
Yeah, we can do that. They have their own textile factory basically, so there's lots of flexibility.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and let's get ready for the Beyond Bitcoin Hangout, which will be in about 5 minutes. But we will go ahead and talk about that there if you're good with it. Now, you did do a good job. It's just not quite the right time.
Yes.
Cool.
I wasn't aware that this was BitShares basically, so.
It's okay. You gotta learn somehow, right?
Yes, that's the point. Alright, thanks for the reply, and I'll join you in the WhaleShares too.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Well, everyone, I will just say this to close off this week's session. I'm glad to see that we're going to start talking about some of this stuff, that we're going to have maybe some updates in next week's Hangout. And I want to urge everyone to consider reaching out to your proxy and at the very least ask them to listen to these Hangouts. And I'm not trying to say be hard on them, but hold their feet to the fire to make sure that the people who are wanting to bring value to the ecosystem are heard and paid attention to, and that we can show it. Because showing it on these Hangouts is a lot better than talking about speculation in things that we have no control over. We do have control, and all we have to do is grab it from the situations whenever they get out of hand. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. And I urge you all to join me. And I thank all of those who already have. We will see you next week, as we always do. And I look forward to it. Okay, everyone, take a pee-pee or drink a drink break, and we will get started in approximately 4 minutes.
Testing. 1,
2, 3.
You have 3 testes?
I do.
That explains a lot.
Does my mic sound good today, people?
Your voice just sounds like cinnamon and honey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
CryptoHippie, I heard you, but you were a bit soft. Your volume was a bit low.
Okay, thank you. How about now?
Ooh, that's a lot better.
All right.
We should mention that after they do the official show, we have the after party where almost anybody can talk about any subject and we can all have a free-for-all. And so that comes in about an hour in from now, hour and a half in.
Not going to be able to make that one myself. I need to get taken off probably around half hour from now.
Yeah, I'll also need to head out in approximately in 1 hour, unfortunately.
Okay, well, I'll be here. So if you get me, you can.
Sounds good.
About an hour and a half.
What's on your mind? Anything in particular?
I said that is that we have a lot of new people. It would be a perfect time to be doing that. Well, things that aren't on the agenda.
I just want to say thank you to Steam Gigs.
Yes, everybody.
Yeah, this is actually.
Hello.
Question.
You're going to
go in the settings.
Yeah,
you're going to go into...
Oh, wait, you were about to say what I was about to... You go ahead.
No, but I'll click on text, the text-to-speech check to have it not checked.
Okay, thank you.
To let me know when you've gone into Mumble configuration.
I'm in the configuration.
And that's on a message for. And then you just
Thank you. I think this will help a lot of
customers,
new people like me.
Time, you guys to make, for one thing to make, like to create their own. So here we go. You guys ready? But anyway,
That is Kelly the quick thing. Hey, I just wanted to throw this link in real quick.
I didn't see you sign up.
It'll be there. You could.
No problem. Wait. When I load up the don't even say their name. So.
All good.
All right, everybody, start your engines. Welcome, everyone, to another Beyond Bitcoin Hangout. This is episode 212, and today is Friday, June 23rd, 2017. We are a group of crypto entrepreneurs and overall nerds who like disruptive technology, the idea of changing things and putting the current economic model and many other models on their head. And we've learned quite a bit over the past 4 years as a community and have evolved in many ways, from covering proto-shares in the earliest days of the delegated proof-of-stake ecosystem and BitShares and all the chains that have come since, like Steem and Peer Plays. And now we open ourselves up, as always, to utilize Steem, which is a platform where you can RSVP and you can blog and create content. But we open it up to let everybody who has a crypto project have a voice. And that is what we do here at Beyond Bitcoin. So we like to the idea is to give doers and thinkers in the space the resources that they need to build and a community who can support those projects that they believe in. So if you have a community and you have a project, make sure that you join our RSVP thread every week and post about your project. Would you like a token? Reach out to @OfficialFuzzy, and you can join us at these hangouts every week. And we can even talk about potentially giving away tokens in these hangouts. So with that said, the people who have RSVP'd this week, we have 2 projects. So it's going to actually be a little bit shorter of a hangout than normal. But we will also, as always, have the afterparty afterward. So what I'm going to go into today is we're going to have 2 projects. The first one's going to be Virtual Growth, and he's going to be talking about Steam gigs. And then we're going to go into the WhaleShares project that JP Henderson, a very good friend of mine who's working in the WhaleShares ecosystem as one of the biggest community people, is going to be talking about a lot of the initiatives and different things that are going on in that space. So with that said, before I do that, Virtual Growth, are you there?
Yes.
I'll go ahead. Since you're good to go, I can hear you okay. Would you like to give everybody just a quick introduction of yourself, what you do, and then get into any updates that you might have?
Yes, sounds good. Okay, Virtual Growth. I work with a bunch of different projects, and I'm going to run through a whole bunch of different things that I've done. I may have a guest next week, so there'll be more on that soon. Steam at Park, I sponsored a bench, which will have my name on it, so when I go visit there, I'll have my own seat. It's in Brooklyn. We're going to talk about Steam gigs today, but also as a brief mention, I'm flying to Kansas City tomorrow to meet with Stella Bella, who is also going to be working with Steam gigs. I'm going to be talking to her in person. I'm going to meet Psycho Chica, who I started working with Steam Prentice last year, and Jacob T.S., who wrote me a thank you letter a while back, and Jessamine Orchidge, who will be performing there, and also started a Steam It Local Music Society today, and that's on Discord. Lowercase e, capital T, lowercase t, capital S, lowercase z, lowercase f, lowercase c, and there's about 22 members already, and there's 12.5 music-related channels, so if people are interested in that. I reached 1,400 followers this week. Zapple released an iOS development teaser, and they're also considering setting up a full node and witnesses. VivaCoin will be building a bridge with BitShares in the nearer future, so you can watch for that soon, and they also have TQS as a trade quick asset which is Viva based at a value of 4 Viva right now. So moving on, we'll be talking about Discord today with Suppressing Google. Will be my guest. We have a room there, and it's on Steam at Chat. We have a channel which is down at the moment. On Discord, we have 50 users, and the basic things of Steam Gigs is to offer goods and services using Steam Gig and using the tags of Steam Gig and Steam Gigs. And you can also request goods and services as well. Mission and vision statement basically stated in one of the posts, looking to play a role in improving the Steam economy and Steam at growth. It was introduced about 2 months ago by Surpassing Google. Part of the idea is to disrupt Fiverr with Steam as we can. And another thing I'm going to mention, I've given Steam and Steam-backed dollars to posters randomly, and I might do that with WhaleShares just to incorporate things. So I'll hand it over to Surpassing Google. You all ready for Surpassing Google? Don't hear you yet. Yes, another Joe. It's our boy Terry. Anybody have any questions in the moment for the meantime?
You mentioned a couple of music gig things with Stella Bell.
That's actually not music gigs. I was just mentioning that, but Stella Bell, I'm going to be meeting and talking about Steam gigs in person because she's got numerous posts about the project and the idea of disrupting Fiverr and stuff. And I'm actually flying out to Kansas City tomorrow.
Well, the reason I ask is when there was a meetup group early this year with Stella Bell in Springfield, Missouri. We talked about the idea was raised, and I think it was put forth on Steam for a gig of some type of a music venue thing that was going to happen in Austin, Texas later this year. Do you know anything about that and whether that's still going on?
I do not know anything about that, but I could find out if you would like.
Yeah, that'd be good, but thanks.
Fair enough. Sounds good. But Jasmine Orchid started a Steam at Local Music Society on Discord, so that will be pretty interesting.
Yeah, she was one of the people that was at that meetup earlier this year.
Yeah, so I'll be meeting her as well, so it'll be pretty cool tomorrow.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Steam Gigs while he gets set up?
Yeah, I could do that. Steam Gigs is people offering goods or services using those tags. We've had dozens of people doing that so far, some doing fairly well. And I and a few other users have compiled them into posts just to help spread the word about these and offer to show the links to what people are offering and what they're looking for. Some people have done art. Some people have done graphic arts. Some people have done translations and a variety of different services. Papa Pepper also supports the project, and Papa Pepper, as I mentioned, reached a 75 reputation this week, and which is pretty amazing. Many of us are doing well. Yeah, it's not only music and teleguy, it's gigs of any sort, but yes, it does kind of sound like that in that direction. But it will be music as well, if people are interested in that. Any questions, feedback, or anything as well? And hopefully Surpassing Google will be working shortly.
So is it like a job board or something that people post, I need somebody to proofread or write content for this, you answer it, and then you get paid for helping that person?
Exactly. And the benefit is, of course, we can make posts about these things and earn Steam as well, so we can offer better prices to people. So it is a job board, and you can request things as well. You can request gigs.
It's a really good idea. I don't know exactly, like, what do you see is the top stuff right now? Is it music? Like, what are the gigs that you see getting the most traction?
The most traction is virtual office type of work. Like the graphic arts, helping people with post translating, proofreading is another one. The things related to Steam it essentially, which is kind of interesting. Somebody else wanted to say something?
Could be thing in the future. Like get your X-ray in the United States and have a doctor in India check for your fractures or something. A limitless possibility.
Yeah, I don't know how legally acceptable that is in America, but yes, I guess it probably doesn't matter if you're a doctor in India what the law is in America, but might cause problems for witnesses in the future. I like to look at witnesses as ISPs. They are the centralized place that can be controlled if we're not careful. So just something to think about.
Well, there's a good book from Thomas Friedman about globalization, and in that you see really endless possibilities of globalization, and this could be adapted.
And until a guy asked a question, I'm just going to answer for him. He said, so Steam Gigs is not a separate website you have to join to reach Steam Gigs. You simply use the tag on Steemit, right? And that is correct right now. You use the tag Steam Gig and or Steam Gigs. However, I'm also going to mention we are looking for developers, so if any developers want to reach out to me, Virtual Growth, or Surpassing Google, you can join us in our Discord channel, and we will hopefully we'll develop an app. That way it can be presented better, and that is one of our next steps to make this more useful.
I'll tell you right now, we could probably help with some of the WhaleShares to get some of that stuff done, because that would be very beneficial to the community, and that's what WhaleShares is for. But the caveat would be that if I give somebody money or WhaleShares to develop something, they're going to need to kind of prove that they're developing it, document it on the blockchain, and let me know. And at the end, when they've completed it, I mean, they'll get upvotes along the way manually from me. And then at the end, I'll gladly give them some WhaleShares and stuff after they complete it, because as like a bonus, because once they've earned that trust, now those tokens, they're going to be used for something else good, right? So I have no problems if they want to talk to me, if any developers are interested in that. But I do want to make it clear to any developers who want that, who want to help with it, that we're going to need documentation along the way. So just be very clear on that.
Yes, of course. And Sebastian Google mentioned he's being in contact with 2 developers already. He also asked me if I know any developers, which I do, and I know Fuzzy, you do as well, as others in this room. That's why I wanted to mention it today. So we'll look out for the right people that we can work with. And yes, of course, paying people once they do it, or as they do it partially, but as long as they show that they're doing it, it's properly vetted. And he also...
Oh, sorry.
No problem. He also said we want to make Steam Gigs tag popular first, just to build up a following. But I think the app will work better, so we'll do them both hand in hand. And go ahead, Fuzzy.
No, man. I was just going to say that it is a very valuable project to have stuff like. I know that I donated $400 to Ned in the early days for it was a site to be built that was going to be for people who wanted to do work. Never got built. I don't know why, but apparently a developer was kind of hard to find, maybe because earliest days. It was very early days, actually, probably about 20 million market cap days. And it never got built, but it's just as important, if not more important now than it was then. So you got my support, man.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. And Surpassing Google said a Steemit funded library is making due to Steam Gig. And that's another project that Dr. Puffin made, his free library. He made a post about somebody making it, and someone made a little library where we can have Steemit books. And he also said that would be kind of cool to have in Steemit Park, so I made a post about that, and the Steemit Park people said that would be very cool. So we're going to have a little Steemit library added to the Steemit Park that'll be in Brooklyn, so people will be able to have their books there. And one of the Steemit libraries that we do is Stella Bell is going to add her own book to it and have it autographed. So that'll be interesting to tie things together with all our passions and everything else.
Nice. Is Surpassing Google still having problems? I see him typing now, so I'm assuming that his mic might not be working.
Seemingly so. He's just typing out for things for me to mention, which that works.
Sure.
Infikit user INPHIKNIT did the Steam Gigs charity. What he does is he made a post a while back offering 5 or 7 Steam-backed dollars to people to give food to a homeless shelter and make a post about it to prove kind of your proof of work. And when he did that, I actually chimed in to also add to that, and I gave people 1 Steam-backed dollar each just to sweeten the pot and offer more if he had more people that do that. And he has a current one too. He does that once in a while. Another one was to offer olive oil and bread to a homeless shelter and then rewarding people for that. So they get their post as well. So it's interesting how we can support charity ideas.
Yeah, I have one that I haven't talked about yet, but because I'm in the planning phases of it, but I think it'll be a Charity is something that we can really do, and we can also make the good news of what we do obvious, and we can make it trend. And in a time when all this negative, terrible, chaotic, fear-driven news and divisive news is reigning, isn't it just as important for us to talk about the good stuff? Steam helps with that. It helps us, and it even helps reward that. That's some pretty powerful stuff.
I'd like to quickly talk about something similar that was just brought up about charity. There's a lot of, initially when we were at $4 on Steam, that we were getting people that were raising $1,000 and stuff for a guy in Africa that was homeless and hungry and stuff, and I could see that there was so much money around that why not do that, right? And I'm very sensitive to charities, and I appreciate giving and all that kind of stuff, so I'm prefacing that. But what I'm concerned about is that sometimes we have all these ways of raising funds and giving them to app developers or giving them to other people. And if they support Steam in some way, that's good. Feeding the world by taking Steam dollars, changing it to USD, and then doing that, it depletes the value of Steam as long as we keep flooding the market for USD on that. And I don't want to go into a big debate about that, but what I do want to talk about is I would also be interesting to see what type of projects we can create to be able to create the demand for Steam. So like if somebody made a post on how to get businesses onto Steam to use their business money to buy Steam, nobody's really focusing on that. We're seeing the easy ones, which are let's help the homeless or let's help, hunger and stuff. Well, what about the harder ones about bringing businesses on?
IntelliGuy, I don't know if you've noticed, but they even have a tag on Steemit that is called growth ideas. And that's a really, I think that you would fall in love with that tag from what you just said.
Oh, very good. Just finding our way around like that. So yeah, growth ideas, I will totally look at that.
Yeah, you're gonna foam at the mouth, man. I'm glad that I got to give you that nugget.
Yeah, growth ideas and growth projects, also surpassing Google says, strengthen the Steemit community and then allowing less active Steemians stay live using Steam gigs, which lets people incorporate using their talents. But yeah, I agree with the charity thing and more of the business. I think part of it is we need better tools to utilize using Steam and Steam-backed dollars with the businesses so it's easier. But go ahead, whoever's going to say something.
So I'm 1 month into Steemit, and I really believed in the platform, and I finally convinced a friend about the underwear line, and I made her accept that she can sell tangible goods in exchange of Steam money, and right now she's totally fine with it, and I just want to spread this to more because it disrupts Amazon, Alibaba, Mercado Libre, Zalando, all those big markets. On top of it, it disrupts Instagram because Instagram has a lot of marketing into it. And I see Steam take over this from all those big players.
Yeah, I think that there's opportunities for her to sell Steam-based gear. I can dang well guarantee that. The question is what kind of gear, and I guess that would probably be more of a running a poll or something. Running a poll of the community and saying what would you buy, or do they have people who actually model their gear?
Yes, but we can also. This is what I have in my mind. So we can have some competitions from that designers in Steemit will join to the competition, and they will design their own unique stuff about Steemit, and then we can choose winners based on votes, and then manufacture them and even launch them at Steamfest too. That's the long-term plan.
That's a great idea. So you're taking, maybe we can talk during the next segment a little bit. But you're taking some of the ideas that we've been talking about and using and actually taking them to a different level, and kind of putting your own twist on stuff, that makes me giddy, man. Good call. But
that's one
yeah.
other thing I was going to mention is we also have the Steam shop tag, which we are working on with other people, and I'm involved in that as well. And eventually we're going to look for developers for that as well, to have a shop that accepts Steam and people can post things into a marketplace. And PeerHub was the first start of that, the proof of concept of shopping, and that's going to be evolved in something too. There's a bunch of us looking to explore this to make it easier for all of us.
Yes, right now we follow a weird method. So basically, since there is no application developed into it, we are saying transfer Steam dollars, send an email of your account and address, and then we'll ship it to you. This is the easiest method we could think of, but if something is more developed on top of it, and if people could keep their anonymity to themselves, that would make it better.
You could also look into using coinpayments.net for payments. You can make buttons for websites and such, if that might help you, just as an idea.
Don't you think it's a lot better if you guys, if you use Steam as more of a payment option rather than like catering just to the fan base of Steam itself by making, Steam-based merchandise? I think it'd be better if we, advertised Steam more as a payment processor or some shit like that, rather than rather than a fan base.
Can I real quick just say something? I see where you're coming from, but I also would like to just give the caveat that in the early days, due to the politics of it as well, there is some good reason to at least start out with lines that are Steam focused and then allow it to kind of open up from there. But I don't know if that's where you're going with it, Reed Moore.
Yes, I think for me the initial thing is to show people that you can sell things on Steam, trusting Steam dollars and Steam basically. After that,
I agree.
Because right now that's the biggest obstacle. People should think that they can start selling stuff here.
Yeah, and that's part of what Steam Gigs is about, is selling goods and services. So that way we're using the Steam and Steam-backed dollars and creating demand for them, which helps add value.
And the best thing about Steam is that there's an embedded wallet in it. So you don't have to use a middleman like Amazon. You don't have to use a banking system. For marketing, you have your own marketing through your blog. So it's just the perfect marketplace.
All right, well, we're going to have to wrap it up soon. I'm going to read what Surpassing Google typed out just to add to everything since his mic's not working, so I'll start doing that now. Surpassing Google typed out and said, improving the Steam economy, improving Steemic growth, tightening the bond of our existing Steemic community, unveiling the human behind the Steemian, unraveling the wealth and depth of our existing Steemic community, employing Steemians to practice their profession and hone their expertise, instilling to the Steemic community the culture, art of giving and receiving. And I'm actually going to pause for a moment. And Stella Bella actually wrote a post about that, saying that as opposed to the attention economy, which we talk about, which is very true, it's also a giving economy or a gift economy, because we can give Steam to people when there's no transaction cost to that. And I think you see a lot of that in our community as well. And you talk about charity and stuff. One of the things that I mentioned was Darth Narvo. We helped out with a $14,000 post to help with his condition and going into surgery, which is absolutely amazing. A big help for him. And we wish him for best for that. We look forward to more updates from his sister. And then to continue on with Surpassing Google is saying, to create a more fun atmosphere, even in the face of overwhelming events. And we find Steam to be a lot of fun, because all of us are earning something, and that just makes us more passionate about it and more rewarding. By rewarding, but the system gives us Steam, and we give Steam to others, so it's always giving, and that's a great thing. Add to an organic reputation system, to our reputation score system, expanding the vision of Steemians with regards to scalability and capability of the Steam blockchain, sparking more creativity, thus more solutions to real-world problems, beautifies Steam in the search engines, connecting Steemians in need to Steemians indeed, keeping inactive Steemians in the Steam economy by means of live gigs, providing non-blogger Steemians with incessant ways to earn Steam and Steam-backed dollars, and burning Steam-backed dollars, gift humanity with at least one breakthrough product or solution, attracting the freelance industry, recruiting agencies and powerful organizations to the STEAM economy, etc. And just to posit the freelance, that's really what Steam Gigs is about, is freelancing, which is a big thing on the internet, and it makes sense with Steam and Steam-backed dollars. So I'm going to finish up soon, and Virtual Growth you can find on steamit.chat, which is down right now, and we'll look forward to that coming back up. And once it is, I am going to be contacted with a potential guest next week, which will be a surprise, so I look forward to having more details for that, as I wait for details myself. And I'll be found on Discord. And Surpassing Google may also be found on those as well with that handle name. And thank you very much, everybody. And if anybody has any questions in closing, feel free to ask them now.
You said that you guys were hello. You said that you guys were looking for developers. Well, what kind of developers exactly are you guys looking for?
I don't know exactly, because that's more of Surpass and Google's department, but we're looking to develop something for Steam Gigs. That way it'll be in kind of like these other apps that are built on top of Steam. That way it can be display Steam Gigs and people can enter them in a better format. I don't know exactly what that's going to be. I'm kind of looking for suggestions and what would be good for that.
I see. Well, I'd love to help out if ever. Just contact me on Discord or whatever.
You can join our Discord channel and talk to us there. I'll put the link in this chat when I'm done.
Alright, sure.
And tell Surpass and Google your name on Discord now, because he just asked in the chat. So you can type it out to him, and then you guys can chat.
Can we open token suggestions topic on Discord channel?
Yeah, sure. I'll definitely look into adding that today. But it'll just remind me via a PM in there, so whenever I go through my PMs, I see it, because I do have a pretty big checklist on these days.
Yeah, I can only guess. I'm also bugging you time to time. So I have a couple interesting token ideas, and I'm willing to share them with developers here, because I don't have the ability to program or that stuff, since I outsourced them in college.
Well, read more. I'm going to be honest with you. Need a developer to make a token on WhaleShares, or soon. I don't know exactly when, but I suspect probably within the year, Steam will have the ability to make tokens. So just a thought to keep in your mind as you're moving forward on that in that realm. I'm not saying you won't need to learn some things or have somebody who has knowledge of it, but you won't even necessarily need a developer.
Yes, Steam will have tokens sometime in the future. Ned came on Steam Speak and talked about that possibility recently.
Yeah.
It'll be more of a community token as opposed to a BitShares token. They'll have different functions. But let's continue on with other stuff.
Yeah, sounds very good.
No problem. And read more. What I will tell you is, if you look at what Virtual Growth did, we ask everybody to RSVP on the RSVP thread. And if you notice, he actually gets paid pretty well for RSVPing. So I urge everybody to let everyone know that if you have a project and you think that it's something that you would like to get your voice heard by, our channels are getting over 3,000 views a week now. If you want that type of visibility from a community that has been here from quite literally the beginning of this technology, we are able to help you. We are able to help you in ways that, if only people know about them, they will probably always want to use them. And what Virtual Growth does, as he posts in RSVP, and Custom Miner from Gridcoin comes on quite often. We have other people who are in here from Purity, which is Crypto Hippie. And we have a number of people who come on and they RSVP to talk about things. They earn money. They get well known in the community. And we can support people by doing this. And what I always say is, there's always going to be people who, in this wild, wild west, that you can't necessarily trust. So we do have, it's an open voice here, and we try our best to not ever censor or ban or kick anybody. But I also want to make it clear, the people who join up and things that they do, they're trying to earn your trust. Let them earn your trust. And if they do, support what they're doing. Because that's how we move forward. This is not a competition so much as it is a race against our own person. Make value and race that race against yourself and just create value. And we have a place where you can have your voice here too. And I would urge you to RSVP so we can give you some resources and get you formally in these hangouts. And Virtual Growth, thank you for always being open for when people do speak up about their projects. You like to connect with all of them, so I tend to not be too harsh on them when they do in this situation. But I would like to close it off by asking, how do people contact you? Obviously, while Steam at Chat is down.
You can contact me as Virtual Growth on Discord. Many channels there. Also, virtualgrowth@gmail.com. And it was Virtual Growth on VivaChat. VivaChat's actually closing down and moving as well. But I'm looking forward to doing more with VivaCoin as their technologies advance. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. And next up is going to be Walrus, a.k.a. J.P. Henderson, who has been doing some amazing stuff in the WhaleShares community. He's been a busy guy, and he is one of the admins in our WhaleShares channel. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to turn it over to Walrus, a.k.a. J.P. Henderson, and feel free to kind of let us know what's going on, man. Can you guys hear him?
No.
No.
I know I heard him earlier when he talked.
I'm going to mention one other thing just for the moment. I'm actually thinking of using WhaleShares and giving them to people who do Steam gigs, or using the WhaleShares to upvote people who do Steam gigs, kind of as a surprise to support everybody in the project.
Yeah, I'll just say, feel free to direct them over to the WhaleShares Discord, man. We're doing a lot of the stuff early right now. If they're interested, I'm looking for leaders who want to help with that stuff.
Yeah, I can help more. I'm just busier because I'm in Las Vegas, but I've been helping a few people and processing some tokens,
man.
as you know.
Well, how I'm looking at it is, if there are people who are doing a lot of stuff and not getting paid for it, I would like to hear about them.
Right, and it's great to see Peppa Padalincho helping over there. She was actually one of the original ones who came to Steam Practice, which she started out, and we helped her along the way. So it's good to see her again, active in the community.
Yeah, she's been amazing, man. She's fast becoming one of our officers, and it's just because of what she does. She doesn't stop. So, and she seems like she's been very loyal to the cause. So I can't really do anything but really promote and help her.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. She asked me for help a couple of times along the way because I've helped her in the past. But yeah, she does very well. She jumps out there and jumps right into it and learns as she goes along, so that works well.
Yeah,
can you guys hear me yet?
You're good, Walrus. Welcome.
Good. Good morning, everybody. So yeah, we've had a lot of things going on with the WhaleShares in the past couple weeks since I've been on. We've got a couple good initiatives that we're starting soon. I think next weekend we're going to be starting the WhaleShares Hangout right here on Mumble.
Nice.
And another big initiative we got going on is we're going to be starting the STEAM Teachers Initiative very soon, which is like a mentoring program, and you can get some of the more experienced members on Steam It to kind of mentor some of the new people coming on and offer them WhaleShares to do that. So
that sounds great, Wallace. Actually, let me know, because that's what Steam Prentice is about originally. We have apprentice and mentors. Continue on. Great to hear.
We had some concerns about voting power with Hard Fork 19, but that hasn't been a problem. So we had backed off the contest for a little bit, but we'll be starting those again. I'll probably start another one today.
Yeah. Would you like to get into why? Because, I mean, the payouts have increased, and we have had a lot of users.
Yes, we have had a lot of users, and since the payouts increased, but the voting, you only have 100% votes now. So we were worried about how that would affect WhaleShares, because we didn't want to be like Randall Whale, where the voting power just gets depleted almost immediately, and wanted to make it sustainable. So kind of backed off on the contest, and we'll be lowering the payouts on the contest because even with the lower payout on WhaleShares, it's still worth more in Steam dollars than it was before the hard fork. So,
yeah, but it is important to note too that the people who joined into these competitions, one of the reasons why we've left it this way is because the people who joined up and earned the tokens when they weren't worth as much, now they're really worth a lot more. So the people who joined up early on, they've benefited because we feel like they're going to, also have to endure the downsides of whenever the, Steam chain may change again in the future. And we may not be the ones who get to dictate that. So it's nice to leave that as something that at least enjoy the highs while they're high, right?
Yep, exactly. Use them while they're good because who knows what the next hard fork will bring.
Yeah. And of course, that's something that if you're a WhaleShares holder, it's important to consider whenever hard forks come out is that you're going to be holding a token that, actually, you're going to be holding multiple tokens from various whales. And those, the decisions that the people who are in power in the chain make can harm the value of those. So it's very important to learn what hard forks are going to do to the chain and to learn what they're going to do to the value of your WhaleShares tokens or the tokens that are using this technology. Something just very important to note, I guess.
Yeah.
So what have you been getting into as far as you've had various competitions? Would you like to go over any of those?
Well, we had a writing competition where I'd provide a writing topic that people were writing about. We had some really good entries on that. The logo competition is still ongoing. I think part 3 is going to be starting soon. And one of my favorite ones that we did, we're going to be starting to back up again. We just took a break for a few days, is where I have people go out and find some of the best content from minnows and nominate a minnow, and we reward the person who nominated theirs if they win.
Did he cut out for that last part to you guys?
A little bit.
I couldn't hear.
Could you repeat that last part? I thought you said WhaleShares, but you may have said some other shares.
Yeah, what I was saying was with the minnow support contest, we had people go out and find some of the best content from minnows, and then reward the person who nominated and the minnow who made the content with WhaleShares to try to support some minnows and promote good content. That's really the driving force behind our contest is to promote good content out there and get people.
Is it fair to say that even the people who participate in these contests walk away with big smiles on their faces, even if they're the quote-unquote loser?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially like our meme contest. There's so many funny memes in there. It's almost impossible to join, to judge. And I love that competition because I just crack up all throughout the day.
It's probably one of the ones that's I'll make one of these anytime I can.
Definitely. That was one of my better ideas there.
Yeah, and we've had some, Talking is saying down there, he's saying that the competition number 2 produced some really good content as far as the artists. And I want to say that, a lot of people were saying, oh, we're going to create verbal content with this. And, we're going to incentivize people to, quote unquote, raise the reward pool. And really, I feel like what we've done, with your competition idea, what has been accomplished has really shown people the value that is on Steemit that hasn't been uncovered, and it lets them come to the party, and show off what they offer and receive something in return for it and feel like even if they're the loser, they walk away with something, you know. I mean, people might laugh, but of the logo competitions so far and all the brilliant logos we have, probably the biggest quote unquote winner is that the one guy who I think his name was Joe Brown.
James Brown.
James Brown. Yeah, he made that really crappy whale. And it was so terrible that it was hilarious. So that sucker has been used in every one of my posts because every time I post it, it makes me laugh. You know? But
yeah, I still
it
laugh
has
about
been
that.
good, man. Yeah, every time.
We're gonna make T-shirts out of that. So
yeah,
that's definitely happening.
No worries, I'm making a new design for you, so it's all right.
Oh, it's still beautiful though, in its simplicity and in the amount of confidence that he posted it with, man, was just absolutely epic.
Oh, I got it saved in my computer, but I still go to that thread every time I want to use it, just because I crack up every time I read that little exchange about it on there, the conversation about it.
Well, you know, and the thing is that you've been really behind the scenes doing a lot of this, man. You need people need to know that you deserve a lot of credit. While I'm trying to get all these things plugging in together, you know what I'm doing, and you're helping in some ways on that too, but you're also helping kind of bridge the gap between the community stuff too in a lot of ways. So, you know, I just have to give you credit, because you really deserve it. But I suspect that you'll see that in time, regardless of what kind of credit I give you.
Oh yeah, and it's not just me. The community has really come together, and I get so much help. So many people have stepped up to help us, and this community support has just been amazing with this.
So, out of curiosity, who are some of the people who've been helping you significantly? Do you have any names you'd like to throw out there so people know about them? Obviously, we heard Padalenko.
Yes, Padalenko. Acrid has been a big one. Star Garden, Reggae Muffin, Nep D. Just so many. I can't even think of them all, I'm sure. I don't know if I even want to start saying names, because then I'll forget somebody and feel bad.
Of course, and you have a lot of people in there now. The last time I checked, it was at 630, and we gain an average of, I would say, close to 40 or 50 people a day the past couple weeks. So I know that we're getting huge, and it's only going to get bigger. I suspect that we're going to be one of the biggest groups around, just because I'm leveraging Steam Power the way it's supposed to be done and showing people why Steam was made and why we were here from them. Because we build communities. And the community members who join up, all of you guys, I ask you always to try to remain true and create value. Obviously, this is all voluntary. A lot of it, you know, it's a free market, so you can attack it and do whatever you will. But in time, I'm just promising you guys right now that the community that builds up around this is not going to be something that's easily taken out. Because all the people who are doing this, like you said, Walrus, it's like they're community all-stars. They just stop. And that you're actually rewarding them these days now, too, which I'm sure is helping a lot, because I know for a fact that it's giving me more in curation value than bots would. At least maybe if I had, was colluding with a bunch of whales, it would be different. But as a whale who's always upvoted myself, and maybe, given somebody else who I trust the key to upvote some projects. But other than that, and nothing beats it right now, man. It seems like it's a perfect synergy.
Definitely, and it's, like I said, the community has really come together on this. And so what's your question, Intella guy?
Okay, from what I understand is, and I'll use RHAG as an example. He's got over $1.8 million worth of a Steam account, and he is actively delegating his Steam power to Official Fuzzy's whale bot for WhaleShares to do curation. And you tell that by looking at the value of RHAG's wallet, and then you go to Official Fuzzy on Steam D, E212.com, and you can see all the people, and there's a lot, like 29 people that have delegated Steam Power to official Fuzzy's whale user to be able to do this for WhaleShares. So you can see how that all comes to be. And the WhaleShares account is at $626 million worth of Steam Power at today's trading price. So it's pretty significant. It's huge. My question is does that prevent the whale that donates or delegates his Steam Power to be used this way from upvoting people himself? In other words, does he stop his own curation and he can't curate? Or does it mean that, or does that take away from his voting power every day? In other words, the reason why I'm asking these questions is to understand that if somebody wants to delegate their Steam Power to this project, what's involved and what limitations are created, because it doesn't seem right that you can delegate your Steam Power, but then, there's got to be a negative offset of that in some small way, that once you do that, that means this or that means that. I don't fully get it.
You want to answer that, Walrus?
Well, you probably know better than me, but I'm pretty sure if you delegate Steam Power to somebody, you can't use it. They can only use it until you get it back. So it'll be at least a week that they have that Steam Power. Is that right, Fuzz?
The way that it works, if you delegate Steam Power to me, you are literally saying, here, this is going to be taken out of my quote-unquote pool, right? And I'm going to not gain from the curation rewards or any of that stuff, right? So you could do that. And that's an option for people. And I've got no qualms with that. I actually think that if you are somebody who has a witness and you already have millions and you're voting yourself in and a bunch of other whales are voting you in who you're voting in, I have no qualms with them delegating Steam Power in this way. I actually think it's probably something they should consider doing. Just because, at least for God's sake, decentralize power voluntarily away from yourself a little bit, to show that you care about the community actually growing instead of becoming an empire. But with that said, if you have 1.8 million and that's all you've got, which is a lot, and you don't want to give any way as far as the Steam Power, the curation stuff, we're going to have a service where you can open up your own token. The only reason I say to consider donating and delegating SP to the WhaleShares token is because I have full intentions that this is going to become kind of the community token, and then I'm going to have my own whale token. This is me to show people that it's possible, and we'll eventually change everything around. But this is the beta, and we're going to have all this stuff done. So it really, if somebody really wants to, and they're like, oh, that's the only option, but that's keeping me from doing it, I guess we could give them some WhaleShares, like on a weekly basis or something for every time, for as long as they're delegating stuff to us. But I really would prefer not to worry about all that complexity unless absolutely necessary, because it would be just as easy for you to make your own token. You know what I mean?
So I guess the idea is if you're a massive whale and don't want to get hounded to death by people saying, come on, use your Steam Power for, voting this good project over here, that good project over there. What you're doing is you're lending out your Steam Power for what you believe is a good cause of people that are actively using it better than you have time to sit there and do it yourself. So yeah. You're kind of proxying your votes. And if you're already a huge whale like Arhag might be, he might not actually need the extra curation bonuses, and he thinks that he's doing that because it's better for the platform to have WhaleShares.
Well, it's actually not Arhag, it's Blocktrades who's doing this, who's backing WhaleShares. I want to make it very clear. Maybe Arhag is delegating some too, or maybe Blocktrades. Does the data that you're looking at say something completely different?
No, I'm looking at SteamD, and it just says who delegates Steam Power. You have 29 users that are delegating Steam Power, but it doesn't tell you what portion, right?
Yeah, it should. That would be kind of cool if they did do that. We do have other things that we're going to be offering with that. And I will use this as a moment to remind everybody that upvoting and sharing our content gives me the funds to do this. And I try to be as blatantly open and transparent as possible, because in this space, my God, it's so frigging hard to find people who just build shit and don't complain and don't cause drama. It's insane. So we're building a community that does that, and we're going to add on new features. So if you guys ever have ideas, and IntelliGuy, this goes to you too, please reach out to Walrus or myself on Discord, and we can, Walrus can get to me as easily as my mom can. So if I'm not around, for sure you can reach out to him.
Yeah, and not just IntelliGuy, anybody. If anybody has any questions or anything, join us in the Discord server.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody have any questions or comments? There's a lot of people who are here from WhaleShares Discord, and we're just going to keep growing, people. And I'm just going to also say, get ready, because Steam is just the launching pad for us to start covering other cryptocurrencies. This is part of Beyond Bitcoin, after all. I just want to show you guys what I haven't been writing or telling anybody about except for in here.
Hey guys, Ackard here. I got something I want to mention real quick. The WhaleShares.net webpage has been updated, so it automatically verifies that a link is active, so that there's not as many errors when transferring the WhaleShares. So that's an excellent improvement. And I have a question. Does anybody know what the approximate value is for a Galos upvote?
You know what? I don't know yet, because we haven't opened it up on a huge level for Golos. But if you know people who you trust who are in the Golos ecosystem, I'm more than interested in connecting up with them. We're starting out in WhaleShares for Steam, but I'm very open to, I would actually like to create a witness that isn't mine. It goes to the WhaleShares token. So it's guaranteed that money will always be there. It won't be going anywhere, ever powered down. It'll only go up. And we won't have to worry about if somebody chooses not to delegate to the token ever again. But there's options for other witnesses too.
Fuzzy, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up, man? Maybe Walrus can answer too. He's another guy. He's one of the guys who's right beside me with this stuff.
Yeah, so my question was actually, what happens to your account when something happens to you?
If something happens, when something happens to me. Good way of saying it. I get your point.
Really, that's a big issue with all the cryptocurrency right now. And next week, I'm hoping to discuss about a heritage token, where you can, if you are not inactive in the system, everything goes to someone that you trust your tokens with.
I kind of heard you as almost like an escrow, where you can trust people. We have something called multi-sig that it can and will be eventually set up. Maybe we should do that now, but we just have so much going on with just the very beginnings of getting this done. I don't mind doing that. We will be doing that, but we haven't quite yet. Reminding you guys, we are only running for 2 weeks now.
Well, and I would point out that if something, God forbid, did happen to Fuzzy, that voting power is not going to be there, and that account's still going to be there. So
no,
yeah.
not
exactly the way it does.
I'm not worried about losing his voting power, or because you can accumulate so much, and you should be able to leave it to your family or something in the future.
He means if you die, can someone inherit it?
Oh, can someone inherit? Yes, my parents have my password.
Okay,
because I know that my dad and mom would never steal from me, because I have that kind of dad and mom, because they're kind of like idealist saps like I am. So I have no qualms. Like, I have people who, yeah.
I have an automated method for that, and I will RSVP for it for next week.
Yeah, man, if you have tools, bring tools to us, Read More. you asshole. I can't believe you would bring those things up to us. All this value.
This was my
Yes, we
first
need more. Many of
note.
us could use that. Look forward to it. Go ahead.
Great. No, seriously. Read more. That's amazing. Like, if you have automated ways, like you're talking like a smart contract, essentially where when I pass, because this is something that was brought up in the very beginning of smart contracts, a will, right?
Yes.
A dead man switch. Good call, Talkinator.
Yeah, so
That's
you
a good
can...
way of saying it.
I think you give me an asshole in the best possible way. Yeah, I don't think read more than asshole.
Yeah, of course. I'm joking. I think it's funny when people are like, "Oh, I need to ask permission to show this badass stuff that I do." It's like, no, you don't. You don't need permission. You're not an asshole.
No, like, yeah, basically like a will, and you can set it up. So if you are not active in the system for 2 months, or you can also select maybe 2 years, then it passes on to someone you trust in a way that we need to discuss in more depth.
Yeah, there's a lot that I don't know legal contracts, but I would imagine that legal contracts can, in a lot of ways, be added to a kind of smart contract environment. The only problem is, at that point, do I have something where, like, as soon as I die, it automatically detects it and lets the smart contract know I have to wear it all of my days? You know, these are types of questions that we need to get into too, but whew,
it probably work better as like dead man's.
Yeah, I will
interact
draft
with it in a month or whatever, then it defaults to somebody.
Yeah, and I will draft a couple different methods and we can discuss about them.
Yeah, inheritance tokens would be an excellent idea. I think it would have to definitely be based on activity and the lack thereof, as opposed to actually having to verify a death.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of different ways to manage inheritance too. It can go to one person, it can go to many people, and you can also, have it split to be donated to different charities as well.
Yep.
Oh, this is a big topic. Let's bring this to the after party. Are you guys okay with doing that?
I will be here for another 10 minutes or so.
Sweet.
Before we move on, I just want to talk a little bit more about the WhaleShares Hangouts that'll be here on this Mumble server on starting not this coming Sunday, but the one after that, and I believe we said 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., so whatever that is, wherever you are.
Hey, can somebody get me a list of the exact times when the different hangouts or chats will start, and I'll be able to make a chart with everything.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, and we also have a website that's coming that's going to be it's open source, and it's going to be available for our Beyond Bitcoin news site. It'll kind of show the trending stuff on the Beyond Bitcoin tag. And we could probably have like a tab where we add that there too.
Yeah, that'll be really useful.
Yeah, because we already have a link to the SoundCloud right there on the site too.
And for the WhaleShares Hangout, we'll probably be adding a link to the SoundCloud repository and all kinds of stuff on the WhaleShares website too. So.
Yep. We're going to have a network of all this stuff, guys. So it's working out very well, isn't it, Walrus?
It is indeed. And before I forget again, I want to introduce my co-host that'll be doing the WhaleShares Hangout with me, DensGirl94.
Hello.
Hello, DensGirl.
How's it going, everybody?
Good, DensGirl. Yourself?
Pretty well.
So what are you guys going to be covering in the WhaleShares Hangout? What do they have to look forward to?
Yeah, we're still kind of working on the exact format, but we'll probably do any announcements, contest winners, contest announcements, things of that nature, and then probably let whatever people want to bring to the floor too. And we will be doing a whale tank hangout probably a couple weeks after that. Once we open up WhaleShares for whales to sign up, that'll be a little different format. Yes, it will be kind of like Shark Tank, but with steam whales that have their tokens for WhaleShares. So
Yeah, I just wanted to say we've been using it to upload parody content and people that are helping us out. Jacob BTS wrote a really awesome article on parody the other day, and it was nice to be able to throw him some good votes and help out some other people that are kind of on our team as well. So yeah, it's been fun to watch you guys. It's just the community grow too, man. Just in the last 2 weeks, it's exploded.
That was something we talked about in Teleguy, and I think the market's kind of regulating that anyway, because since the payouts went so high, that the price of WhaleShares as they're being traded, which we don't officially sell them, but some people who win them in contests do. And that was one reason why we lowered while we backed off competitions for a minute, and we're going to be lowering the prices for those because the payouts went a lot higher, and so we can give less.
I'm just seeing this. I like to spot the problems like almost anybody does, just in case, right? And I could see, like, say had no morality at all, which hopefully
some people say they openly say they don't. But go ahead.
Yeah, okay. And I've met some of them on Steemit before too, which is frustrating. But nonetheless, let's say I had a bang hot trending post, right? And I made $2,600 on it, and I'm doing extremely well. And then I happen to own WhaleShares, and I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to punch this up even bigger. And then I throw my WhaleShares, get bought to upvote me from 2,600 to 3,200. And people are going to go, look at this guy. He's just a scum of the earth. He's already making 2,600, and he had to bump it up to 3,200 with WhaleShares. That's not fair. Two ways of dealing that, obviously. People could downvote the rewards for that. Second thing is would the WhaleShares bot go, you can't use WhaleShares on a post that's exceeding $1,000 or something? I don't know.
At present, I don't mind answering this, but it's up to you. You're more than welcome to answer these two.
Go ahead. Either way, it doesn't matter. We'd probably say the same thing anyway.
Probably. Okay. Well, there's two things. You have downvoting that you can do. With my token, it's with WhaleShares right now. It's going to be 3% or 3 times the amount to downvote it, right? And that means you would have to go out and you'd have to buy 300 WhaleShares tokens, or you'd have to earn 300 WhaleShares tokens at a competition because you produce quality, which is the majority of what tokens, the vast majority of tokens released are dispersed in that way. So you have the ability to downvote it. It costs you about 3x more, but if it really bothers you that much, you should sacrifice a little bit too for the ecosystem, right? And you also have it where when other whales create their own tokens, because it is going to happen, they're going to do what they want. So you're going to see some people who abuse the system. All we can do is make it so people know people abuse the system. No system's ever going to be perfect, and if we have a system that is quote unquote perfect, I ask myself the question, well, then are we free? Because without, it's almost like the free will question, can you do evil with free will? Is there any way of guaranteeing people will never do bad things? The only way that I know of is to take all freedom away from them. And I don't see that as a very viable option. So I suspect that you will see whales try it and abuse it, but I think that it's going to come back on them, really. And people who use it will be too.
I guess what we're seeing now is on Steemit, because quite often something goes wrong, for instance, on Steemit, where something's getting out of hand and people they're like minnows and dolphins noticing it, and they're like, I wish the devs would come in here and do something, or I wish some whales would come in and do something. And sometimes instead of just wishing that, collectively they could all be using, I guess, WhaleShares or something like that as a centralized thing. Instead of hoping somebody's going to take the initiative, you can actually use the WhaleShares bot for the initiative to either downvote or upvote if it needs to be done, rather than waiting for somebody just to do it on their own, I guess.
Well, and here's the thing. I've gone through so many hangouts where we sit and complain, but we don't do a whole lot about it, and don't really get stuff like on a list and get it done. And it's like, now that we have this tool, we can do that. But in addition to that, I hate to say it this way, but it's kind of the fact. It's kind of just the reality. If you complain about something, but you never do anything about it, sorry, but really, what can we do to save you and help you? You're really hurting yourself in that instance, right? So I like the free market. I like letting the free market establish it, and I like letting a community who actually cares about it support it, because then they're like little frigging T cells. And if something becomes really bad, and the consensus is, like, hey guys, here's my new Steemit child porn. I upvoted it by to be $500 because Steemit's at $1 billion market cap right now, and I suspect that you're going to see people go, what the F? And I will say this, if you ever see child porn, this token is going to, well, at least with my token, whenever everything's said and done, but right now with WhaleShares too. If you see stuff that I can control and it's like that bad, let me know. And if they're using it, I'll downvote them or myself, or I'll just make it so it doesn't work, because I will not support things like child porn on Steam. And I have no qualm with saying it. But
okay.
if it's something, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say it's a learning experience. Some of these questions I ask is not just for my own benefit; it's for those that might be thinking the same thing, right? And so
and
by
people are
me
going to do
asking
it,
right? So I hope everybody sees that these WhaleShares is approachable if you have concerns and questions, apparently. And there you go. That's all you have to do is hop on Mumble on these meetings and ask them a question, and they'll answer it.
Yeah, Mumble or Discord, and that's what I was going to say was very active in the community, so if it is a problem, then I'm sure I'll hear about it, and if I hear about it, I'm going to do something about it. So far we haven't had to deal with any problems like that, but if we do, then we'll solve it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's the way I look at it. If somebody has WhaleShares tokens outside of like something really terrible, like what I just said, you're going to use it, and you can use it for crap or not. But you're taking a risk of pissing people off. If I just type D and I upvote it by a 500 for WhaleShares, I'm going to make a lot of people angry. You know what I mean? And
I'm sure they're going to get downvoted to oblivion no matter how many WhaleShares you use anyway, because somebody sees that and posts, they're going to, it's going to get attacked.
Yeah, that's why what I see it as, and it's a good reason why you bring these things up and tell a guy it's not a bad thing. You're not berating us, right? It's also an opportunity to teach people who are in the ecosystem. These people are like, people might do X, Y, or Z, or people might, this is what you should expect. This is, or maybe you didn't think about it. Maybe you should think about it a little bit more. Newbies who are here listening to this, something that's important for them to know about. So I'm glad that you're bringing it up. I will say that, the answers that I'm giving you are answers I'm pretty adamant about it. And I think that we've got it pretty much on lockdown. Will I be surprised? Yeah. Something will surprise me. Are you bringing that up? Yeah. Is it good? Yep. So, I mean, but I will say this, it ultimately is always going to hinge on the people. And I never want that not to be the case, because when that happens, is kind of like what my worst nightmare is, And I don't know why, other than I just feel like we don't want to get rid of humans. Yeah, there's a guest book. I'm gonna post it today, but I'm going to let you guys know. Actually, largely because of IntelliGuy bringing it up last week, I'm going to start opening up people who want to sponsor these with their own tokens, and they want to distribute them. I will gladly help distribute tokens to the people who attend these hangouts. But I probably will not be giving a bunch of tokens, of WhaleShares tokens, to people who come in here just for that purpose. I'm going to start giving you guys quests and things to give you guys those tokens. But I urge you to try to find sponsors for these events so we can give tokens to all you guys, and I will be doing the same. That's just something to work on, and we have this guest list, so I'm going to use it. We just need to start building out people creating tokens and giving them out to people. But with that said, Walrus, how do people reach out to you if they have any questions or comments that they'd like to bring?
The best way is probably the Discord channel. I'll leave that right now.
And if you ever have GG, capital R, capital D, lowercase z, lowercase n, and 6 case.
There's a / after the GG, but just so everybody knows, this link specifically might not last forever. There is a limit to them, and we tend to make sure to pass out the limited ones so people don't find a loophole and start coming in and just messing with us. But it is going to be available. Every post that I post,
that's
give
the
a new
forever link. That's the forever link.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. If anybody's going to be, I'm pretty much always on Discord, or Pataline Joe, or one of our moderators is pretty much always on there, Acrid. So if somebody's being a problem, hasn't happened yet, but yeah.
All right. Well, Walrus, I'll just say thank you again. And I'll tell all the people who've been helping us before and now in the WhaleShares community. Thank you. We are growing. We are getting huge. We've only been open for 2 weeks, and we're probably going to be in the thousands within a couple months. I would love to start using this group to promote and get you guys to become little whales and other cool things that come out. And now that EOS is coming out, you're going to see a lot of different tokens come out in the next year after it's started, I suspect. And
before we move on, I saw something in the chat earlier, and then we were talking, so and I kind of forgot about it for a second. But Scaredy Cat guy was talking about Dolphins United and talking about them getting caught up in the middle. And I wanted to say that if they wanted to, they could pool their SP into an account and use that as a WhaleShares account, and that might be a good way for them to.
Well, that's actually one of we talk about the whale rep, and this is a good place to really quickly say whale representatives are essentially people that represent a community or a single whale that has essentially enough steam power to be a whale. And now they can back their own token. So you can see from what Walrus just said, a bunch of dolphins could create their own whale power token and could use that to upvote content that they feel is valuable and within their own community. So it's a very powerful tool, and these are going to be available.
And just to chime in for a moment, I have the Steam Prentice account, which has a Steam token on BitShares for just this purpose.
Well, it sounds like you might have something that you'd like with it. This is going to be available for people because we want to make it possible for the community to use the steam power. And we want to give people an incentive to frigging power up. Because if I'm with steam power and risking it, the only way we make steam valuable is by making steam power something that everybody wants to have. So I want you guys to think about this, and if you want, and you want to learn a lesson of where we're going, go and listen to our Hangouts starting a year ago when Steam first was launched. And you'll hear me talk about all the stuff that's led up to today with the community who we have here today, and a lot of the core people who are actually in the BitShares ecosystem as well, and Dan Larimer himself. So with that said, we will see you guys next week. But for right now, we're going to move on to the after party. And I want to just say to everybody who joins up to these Hangouts, consider taking these Hangouts, recording them, taking snippets that you think are valuable out of them, and posting them. I urge you to try to let me post the original full content, but you have Creative Commons fair use. So all you have to do is just give credit to our Hangouts and me for doing the posting of it. And you can use this content for whatever you need to use it for. And you can get paid for covering it. So why not help the people who are coming on, using their voices and showing you that they're doing something? To me, if you want to make money, that's what we need to be doing. So we'll see you guys next week, and keep up the good work.
Can I put
La 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 la.